What is going on, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of our deep learning with neural networks, TensorFlow, and Python tutorial, and also part 44, I think, in the machine learning tutorial series. So in this part, this tutorial is going to be pretty optional, so because it's so specific. We're just going to be installing TensorFlow on a virtual machine. You don't have to install TensorFlow on a virtual machine. If you already have an Ubuntu machine or you're on Mac, great. You can just install it straight onto your Mac. You're good. If you already have a server or something that you want to run with, install it on your server. That's totally fine. This is just for people with Windows machines, basically. Okay, so, or someone who wants to use a virtual machine. Either one. Anyway, so if you go to TensorFlow website, you can just go to the Get Started. I suppose these first few steps, but you should be able to figure this out. But anyway, TensorFlow.org, Get Started, and then you look Download and Setup, okay? These are the requirements that you have, and then there's all these other things here. We are going to be installing the CPU version of TensorFlow. We might touch on GPU enabled down the line. That's something I want to get into, so I might do something, but something tells me that's going to be even more specific than this is, and it can get hairy, but I'll probably do it anyway just because I'm interested in that. But to start, the CPU version is much easier. We don't have to install CUDA. We don't have to make sure everyone's CUDA enabled, and that would probably kick out quite a few of you. So anyways, we're just going to use the CPU version to start. Now, again, there is nothing for Windows. You can use Docker. I don't know much about Docker, but I like Ubuntu, and if I'm going to actually do machine learning to scale, chances are I'm doing that somewhere in the cloud, and I'm going to be on Ubuntu, so or some Linux distribution, so I figure I'm just going to do that. I could be totally wrong in that sort of logic and reasoning. This whole kind of field of machine learning and to scale and all that is still relatively new. Who knows what kind of platform people are going to be doing this on as things progress. So do whatever you want. I'm not advocating that this is the best way. This is just the way I've chosen to do it. So yeah. So you can do a pip install. It's super simple. You can do a bunch of stuff. And first what we're going to do is get the virtual machine, get Ubuntu on the virtual machine, and then we're going to install TensorFlow. So first, we're going to go to virtualbox.org, and then you can go /wiki/downloads, and then go to the downloads page and download whichever one matches what you're trying to do. Now I'm on 64-bit Windows, so I would take this download, right? And it starts this download here. So whenever that's done, you open up VirtualBox. Honestly, I think VirtualBox was like super simple to set up, but I'm still going to run through the setup just because it's so simple, it's very quick. While we're waiting on that, actually, that's basically done. So cool. All right, so I'm going to click on that, let that come up here. Cool. Next. Everything looks good there. Yeah, next. Don't like to clutter my stuff. We'll keep that file associations because they make VirtualBox has like a special partition on your hard drive, so it's kind of useful to know what the hell that partition is, so I'll leave that there. This just tells you that you might disconnect. I actually have never disconnected while doing this, but anyway. So we begin the installation and we're good to go. While we're waiting on that installation, I'm just going to move this. And the next thing we need... Sorry, I don't know if I get cut out or what. I got a little admin thing pop up. Anyway, the next thing that we're going to need is Ubuntu. So I'm going to open up a new tab here, and whoops, that's my tutorial. All right, so you go to ubuntu.com and then download, and then I use the alternative downloads because it was a lot quicker. So you can go to, I'm using the desktop version as well, but anyway, you can go to download. And you would probably want Ubuntu desktop. You could just do Ubuntu server, and I think that's just headless. It just doesn't have the GUI, X. But I think the GUI desktop is kind of useful, at least when you're playing around and doing development. I don't prefer to be headless if I don't have to, but the desktop does take up processing and also space. So you could elect to just have a server if you wanted. But anyway, the Ubuntu desktop, let's say that's the one you want. I'll open up a new tab. Boom. And you can download from here. Now, it's a fairly large image. You're downloading the ISO. You can also donate and stuff like that, but I'm actually not going to, not even going to download. Well, I'm going to start the download probably. But anyway, it's actually really, really slow. It's 1.4 gigabytes, and it's a slow download. But if you go to the alternative downloads, we want, am I blind? No. 1604, 60. I want 64-bit. This is another kind of point of contention or a point of problem. I'm assuming most people on modern computers today are running 64-bit. You want 64-bit so your applications can use more than 2 gigabytes of memory. So you want 64-bit. Now I will just say, because I probably forget later on, but hopefully when I'm setting it up I'll remember too. Just because you're 64-bit, you download this VirtualBox, so your virtual machine, your computer, by default, most computers don't actually allow for hardware virtualization, which you need to do 64-bit. So you'll have to go into your BIOS settings. So like when you restart your computer, you hit the delete key to go into BIOS, and then you want to enable hardware virtualization. And that'll be under like a CPU section. Okay, so it has to do with your architecture of your CPU. That'll be under your CPU section. That's what 64-bit is. Anyway, it'll be in your CPU section. Just go into BIOS. Sometimes it'll be like advanced CPU, or maybe you'll have like a CPU section. Everyone's BIOS is a little different. But anyway, if you want 64-bit, that's what you got to do. So anyway, I wanted the 64-bit. And what that does is you download the torrent for that, and then you can use something like uTorrent or something like that and do the download, and it'll take like 2 minutes if you have a decent connection, rather than like an hour. Okay, so anyway, pause the video, make sure you get this however you want to get it. If you just do the simple download, or if you have like uTorrent or something like that, you can download it really, really quick, as long as you have a decent connection. So anyways, you'll download Ubuntu, and I forget where Ubuntu, let me check to make sure I have Ubuntu in a proper location. We'll see. I guess I'll see. Oh, yeah, I have it. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so anyways, download Ubuntu, and then we'll proceed to the next step. So looks like we're here. So the installation is complete. Start Oracle VirtualBox. Great. So I hit finish there. And then here we are, brand new VirtualBox. This is unbelievably stupid simple, but cool. So we'll go ahead and hit new, because we want to make a new virtual machine. So new, and then we can call this whatever we want. I'll call this TensorFlow Tuts. Okay, and then the type is going to be Linux, and then we're running Ubuntu 64-bit. So you click this drop down 64-bit. If you click that drop down and you don't see 64-bit, and you're like, what gives? You have to enable hardware virtualization in your BIOS. Do that, and then this option will appear. If you don't do that, that option's probably not there for you. So anyway, do that. I guess you won't be able to pause the video and do that, but restart, go into your BIOS, enable hardware virtualization. Great. Hit next. Okay, here's where you decide how much memory this virtual machine is going to take up. Now, this is not memory that's going to be taken up all of the time. It's just while the virtual machine is running. So I have apparently a total of like 32 gigabytes of RAM. So I might want to allocate, I don't know, whatever. You might want to stick with like 8192, like 8 gigs of RAM, or you could even go even harder and do like, I don't know, 12 or 16. I think I'll go ahead and do 16. If I recall, I didn't have issues with RAM. The biggest issue, because as you'll see, obviously this kind of machine isn't enough to run huge. And also, when we were just talking about data sizes earlier, we were talking like, you might run petabytes worth of data. How the heck would you put that much data into memory? So anyways, we'll talk about that later, but you can run it in batches. So anyways, I'll give it 16. I really want this to be perfect. I guess that is it. Okay. Anyway, about 16 gigs of RAM. Great. Then you have hard drive, or hard disk. You do want to create a hard disk now. It says the recommended size is 8 gigabytes. Don't do 8 gigabytes. So just click next. We'll stick with VDI. Next. You can go with dynamically allocated or the fixed size. You should pick a fixed size. Dynamically allocated sounds great, but the input-output speed can be significantly hindered with dynamically allocated, which can be really annoying. So just go with the fixed size, hit next, and then don't do 8 gigabytes. I'm pretty sure with 8 gigabytes, you won't even be able to install Ubuntu 16.04 64-bit. That's not even enough space, at least the desktop version. It'll just fail. So give yourself probably more like 50 or even 100 or something like that. Give yourself a decent amount. Let me check to make sure, because my main drive is a solid state and I don't have a ton of memory or space. And in fact, I bet some is not even cleared up. Oh, I don't even know where that goes. I'll have to look for that later. I should have a lot more space, but I think some is being held by another virtual machine. Anyway, when you make this, it's going to take up that memory. Remember how I was saying, like, the RAM, it's not going to be using your RAM when the virtual box is off, but it's going to be using your storage, right? It's going to use your hard drive space. It's just going to make a flat file that's that size. So I guess we'll stick with, I think 50 gigabytes will be fine. I just don't want to run out of space. Anyway, I think I have another one I can delete. But anyway, 50 gigabytes about should be good. So that's going to take a little bit, depending. If you have a solid state, that should go pretty quick. If you have like a regular hard drive, that might take like 10 times as long. So I don't know. Mine says about a minute. So let's talk about some of the other stuff we're going to do. Once this is done, we'll be ready to basically start installing TensorFlow. There's not too much going on as far as what's left actually to cover. I might pause here. I don't know. Everyone's got to wait this 1 minute, so I don't know, at least. But let's see. A few of the things that we're going to do, once we create this, you can also, for some reason, when you're setting it up, you choose your memory, you choose your hard drive, but you do not choose how many CPU cores you're going to dedicate to, or CPUs, you're going to dedicate to this virtual machine. So we're going to change that. There's also, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I can't really think of anything else. I think I'm going to have to pause this while I wait. So go ahead and just pause this, and then we'll go on. So the rest of the stuff I can't really talk about until we actually get there. All right, we are back. I finally finished. We've got our machine here. It's just prepared to accept Ubuntu, but we haven't actually got Ubuntu set up here yet. But the first thing we're actually going to do is right-click and go to Settings. There we are. And I'm trying to think where I want to go. So first of all, if you take a snapshot, it'll go here. And a snapshot is just a way to like back up your machine. Hopefully you won't need to do that. There's not enough like settings involved here. You really just have a script, and then you might have some data that you want to save, but I can't imagine why you at this stage would need to make backups. But anyway, popping into system. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find processor. Here we go. So system, we're in motherboard here. Go to processor. The default is to give you one CPU. Well, most modern processors are going to have at least 4 with like hyper-threading, I think it's called. I can't remember. You should get like 8 if you have 4 core. Anyway, I'm gonna bump this up to 8. Kill my computer otherwise, but that's okay. The only time I'm going to be using this is when I'm like running stuff or working on it and I don't need all of my cores. So anyways, we'll go with 8. At any time, you can just like lower this. It's not a big deal. So cool. The other thing we're going to do, let's go to acceleration. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's go down to display then. Okay, cool. Video memory. So if you want to allocate some video memory, it shouldn't make a huge difference, but you want to give it some video memory just so it has some capabilities. I'll give it like 100. Monitor count, however many monitors you want. I'm surprised it knows 8. I have 4 monitors now, so you could in theory like give your, actually I have 5, I guess. You could give it more monitors, but I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. And then if you can, you might want to enable 3D acceleration. And I think that's all I want to do here. Let's go to general real quick. Let's go basic. Somewhere in here you can say where your your ISO is, but I'm not seeing it here, but that's okay. This isn't the original way I did it. Anyway, I think that's all we want to do. Let's hit OK, right? Okay, now power this thing on. Let's just double click it and that kind of powers it on. And hopefully it'll tell us, you don't have a thing. Right. Empty. So mine is going to be in downloads. Let's see. Let me pull up. Get rid of all my vacation pictures out of downloads before I make a mistake here. Oh, I deleted the... Oh, great. Fantastic. All right, cool. Anyway, so I deleted the... The ISO, fabulous. Okay, anyway, let's open this up. Great. Now the only thing in downloads is this. So there's the image. Mine was in downloads, but yours might be somewhere else depending on how you download it or whatever, where your torrents go. So yeah, cool. Open that. And so now we have the disk that we want. We'll go ahead and hit start. And apparently it starts virtual machine. You get this message. I'll just close this out. The little lovely purple for Ubuntu. Wait for it. A lot of times I see a really nasty message, but I'm not seeing it yet, but we'll see. So then we run through like the Ubuntu setup, okay? Since this tutorial is so specific, I'm going to just keep filming as I set this up, because hopefully anybody that's still following to this point is doing exactly this thing. But anyway, so we want to install Ubuntu. We don't want to just try it. We will download the updates while we install. We don't need third-party stuff. Hit continue. Okay, so this is a little uncomfortable. But this is what you want to do. Okay, you want to erase the disk and install Ubuntu. All right. This, because it's on a virtual machine, it's just that little virtual disk. Okay, so it's not going to clear out your main computer, but this is pretty uncomfortable to do. But anyway, yeah. So erase disk and continue. Install that. Yep, great. Deletes everything. Tutorial cuts out. Yeah, fine. Chicago. That's cool. English, yes, please. Let's continue. Your name. We'll just call this TF Tuts. Cool. I'm not going to put a password on this, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm so uncomfortable not putting a password on things. I'll do it. So you can put a password. I think we'll encrypt the home folder. Hopefully that's not going to. I don't think that would have any effect on TensorFlow. And now we wait for the install. Go faster. Wow, this is taking forever. My goodness. So once we get it installed, unfortunately we do have a few things. We need to install TensorFlow, but the actual TensorFlow install is really quick. But we also want to run a command that will let us have a resizable screen. Because like right now you resize the screen and it stays the same size. Why is this still like not moving? I might pause it because oh, there we go. Okay. I was going to say I might pause it because that's not normal for it to just like freeze up like that. But anyway, apparently it was working and it's almost done. I don't know. Yeah, great. Anyways, so we'll run a command that will let us resize. Other than that, we will just be installing TensorFlow and then we'll be done. We'll test the TensorFlow install, of course. Oh, and also I'm going to put on Sublime Text. I don't know if I want to do that in this tutorial or the next one, though. But that's the editor I'm going to use is Sublime. He's using a different editor than Idle. Whoa. Honestly, I'm just doing it because I have no idea. I don't even know how you'd get Idle on Ubuntu. Because it's not there by default, even though Python 3 is. So I just used Sublime. Okay. I'm going to pause again while this installs. I will see you guys when your installation is complete. So whenever your installation is complete, like press pause, and then whenever it's complete, resume. Alright, so the installation is complete. You can click restart now. You can give it a second to attempt to restart. From every time I've ever installed anything, well, at least any Ubuntu, it doesn't actually restart. It's probably because it's a virtual machine or something, and the restart doesn't seem to work. I don't know. Anyway, we'll wait a sec. So yeah, nothing really seems to work, so I'm going to just right-click on the virtual machine here and just hit reset. Hopefully that'll do something. Something good for us. We'll see. Alright, So, okay, we'll just make a big screen now. And if you opted for a password, go ahead and type that in. And we'll wait. Wait. Okay, great. So shortcut to the terminal is Control-Alt-T. Hit that and this little box should come up for you. The first thing we're going to do is give us the ability to resize, because as you start to code and do stuff, you kind of want to have it be able to be full screen. So you can go to the text-based version of this tutorial and get this command, or you can just type it out with me. But it's sudo apt-get install virtualbox-guest-utils, virtualbox-guest-x11, and virtualbox-guest-dkms. I'm just checking. Looks good. Let's do it. Yes. And when this is done, we can run a reboot, and hopefully it will be able to be full screen. It's telling us about software updates. Hopefully, I mean, we should have run the updates as we installed, so I don't know why it's telling us that. The other thing we might as well do while we're waiting on that is go to, is it sublimetext? Yeah, sublimetext.com. We'll close this out. Sublimetext.com. And I'll just make a big screen. We'll go to the download, and we'll download the 64-bit .deb. Save. Cool. So this will be at, let's see, open containing folder. I think, yeah, like home, downloads, and then that file. So keep that in mind for a minute. We can close out of the Firefox now, and we're all done. Okay, so let's go ahead and install this real quick. So whenever you get that Debian file, the way that you're going to do this now is sudo, what is it? It'll be sudo dpkg-i and then home/downloads. And then it was Sublime something deb. Cool. Okay. And then whenever you're done with that, the next thing that we need to run is going to be sudo apt-get install-f. Oh, install-f. Great. Now, hopefully, like if we go right click, new folder, TensorFlow tuts, let's just make it quick. Yeah, new document, and we'll just call it tfbasics.py. Interesting. Open with, yeah, we could open it with Sublime. Should like have a Python logo, but anyway, okay, cool. So we've got Sublime and all that. I guess we'll go ahead and do the Google thing. I mean, might as well while we're here. The other thing I might do, let's see if I can. I guess I can't really make this text any bigger, but yeah, if you can't read this text, the Sublime text I'll make big enough so it's really clear. But for some reason I can't make this text any larger. So if we go to, and in fact, let's go ahead and just reboot this. That way we can be full screen for the next part, because you're gonna have to reboot it at some point. So let's just go ahead and reset it. It's usually pretty quick to reset anyway. And hopefully it'll be full screen when it resets this time. Yes. Great. All right. Now we have the full screen. You can even actually go even more. Like you can have it truly be full screen by going into full screen mode. But sometimes it's kind of annoying to get out of it, so I don't really like it. Anyway, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to tensorflow.org. Or is it tensor? Yeah, tensorflow.org. And then finally we get to install. So get started, the pip installation, And so these are the instructions. We're just going to run them. So first we'll run this. Control-Alt-T for the terminal. Paste. So we run that. Yes. And obviously if you're on Mac, you'd run those other things. I don't think anybody with Mac is still watching, however. Shouldn't be. And then pay attention here, because these are all the like options. Well, we're running Python 3.5, and in fact, we probably didn't even need to run these things, because we actually don't need, we need Python 3 dash dev and Python 3 pip. We should actually have all those things, but maybe not. Anyway, this tutorial is in Python 3, not Python 2, and this is for Python 2. Anyway, so do Python 3 rather. And then coming down here, we want the CPU only version for Python 3.5. Again, later on we might do the GPU version, but GPU requires the CUDA toolkit and cuDNN and all these other things that complicates things that we don't need at the moment. So anyway, to get regular, we do this. Copy that line for 64-bit Linux. If you're on 32, obviously get the 32. CPU only, 3.5. Great. Coming over here, right click, paste. Wow, that was quick. Surely that worked anyway. And then, because all that's doing is just putting the link to TensorFlow for us, so I guess it should be quick. Sudo pip3 install -- upgrade, and then $tf _ binary _ URL. Hopefully we didn't actually need the upgrade, because we don't actually have this installed, but that's okay. So while that's installing, basically when that's done, we're done, because we've got Sublime to write the code, we got TensorFlow, so yeah, we're all set. So let's make sure this worked. Where am I typing? Just type Python 3 and then do import TensorFlow as TF. Great. So as long as that works, you are now ready to go to the next tutorial where we're going to talk about the TensorFlow basics, just kind of how it works. And then after that, we're going to start building our own neural networks. So anyways, that's what you have to look forward to if you, for some reason, using this method, can't get TensorFlow installed. I can do my best to help you out, but there's like a billion ways to install TensorFlow, so that's why this was kind of optional. But anyways, there we have it. We're ready to rumble, so till next time.